Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the mid-monthly meeting to order at 5:03 p.m. And first, I'd like to say good evening to everybody and welcome you guys to the monthly meeting. Really good to see you guys this evening. I understand you guys had a demonstration, so I'm happy to have you here. And we brought some pizza in because we figured you guys would be hungry and ready for a snack. So thank you for being here. So I'm going to ask our Mr. Louis LaRose to say a prayer for us this evening. Louis, would you please say a prayer for us?
I ask you to excuse me for my voice. I have trouble with it sometimes. I wake up in the morning and I can't talk. So it's difficult sometimes. Joka, we come to you as your children. We come to you to question and answer and find resolution to issues facing the tribe. We ask your presence. We ask your presence to those of us in the tribe that suffer illness and are dealing with pain. Have mercy upon them and give them hope to heal. We ask that you a special prayer for the young children of our tribe. They represent the future generations. May they grow and become educated and make a profound contribution to the community. We pray for the young men and women that are serving the military in this treacherous time. We don't know what's going to happen in Russia. It impacts the whole world. Help us that we'll be safe. Help us as a tribal council wrestle with and find resolution to the tough problems that come our way. We ask for a special blessing upon the young women and young men and elders who came to talk to the council. Help us. This I ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Louis. Council, or before we get started, if anyone comes in the room, just feel free to help yourself to the pizza and share that with them if they come in after the meeting's in motion. So with that, we have an agenda this evening. Are there any additions to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, there's two. The first one is an executive session with the Child and Family Services that was requested over 3 weeks ago. And the second one is we received documentation from Cindy E. regarding her family's land.
Okay, so I'll put the Cindy E's item under new business and the executive session under tribal council items. Are there any further additions to the?
If time permits, I would like to put Marie Scott's issue on the agenda. There's some resolution to it, and I would like for her to present it.
Was Maria still?
Kenny, she told me today that she wants to. I spoke with her today, and she said she wants it to be on hold because she's waiting on something else that's supposed to happen today too.
Okay.
So she knows the regular is available to her. So she said put it on hold. She told me that on the phone.
Okay, I'll withdraw mine.
Okay. Are there any further items?
There's the Ron Nor, the Powwow storage tank.
I'll put that under new business as item number 5.
Okay.
Any further items? Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Brian. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 600. That brings us to the minutes. The first set of minutes are the 4/8/22 regular tribal council meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Eric. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Louis. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 600. The next set of minutes are the April 11th, 22 land meeting and enrollment update minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move it, Madam Chair.
We have a motion by Kenny. Do we have a second? Second by Rona. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 600. We now move on to ratifying the 5 signatures. The first one is approved purchase of Pendleton blanket.
Motion to ratify.
Second.
We have a motion by Eric and second by Brian. Discussion. I want to thank the council for, well, first I thank Lorelei for her involvement in the Food Sovereignty Task Force. And recently, Vincent Bass was honored by the Food Sovereignty Task Force for his retirement and contributions to the projects that led to many of the things that we're enjoying now, like the farmers market, the tribal farm, and many things that are too many to name. So we came together, and that was earlier this week, so the council gifted a blanket to Vincent Bass. So that's what that's for. Any further discussion or comments? It was a really nice event, and thank you to all those that stopped by. Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 600. Next one is adopt resolution 2296 tribal enrollment applicants. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion by Brian. We have a second by Rona. Discussion.
Are those?
Kenny?
On the
excuse
date
me,
of
Louis.
birth, it doesn't, it says 200. It could be 201, 209. It has only 3 numbers.
The margin is outside of the copying and print. On the original, it's there. Because I saw that too. The margin is not wide enough on the, when it's printed.
You mean up here?
Yeah.
How's that?
Where the applicants are listed.
Approved it, we've seen everything. When it's printed, one digit is omitted.
So for the membership's information, the last CEO report was postponed, and we had to 5 signature the action items. So one of those action items was the tribal enrollment applicants. And so what the council is talking about right now is on the printout, the date of birth, the last digit is cut off. But when we did the 5 signature approval online on the computer, the full date was there. So Kenny, are you okay with that? Or Louis, are you okay with that?
Well, has to be.
Okay. Okay, objection to the motion. Motion carried 600. And next ratification is adopt resolution 22-97 tribal enrollment applicants. And that's another series of applications. Do we have a
to
motion?
approve.
We have a
to
motion by
adopt.
Brian to adopt. Do we have a second?
Oh, ratify, sorry.
Oh, ratify, okay.
Sorry.
Do we have a second? Second by Rona. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 600. The next one is approve budget modification for wake and burial.
Motion to ratify.
Second.
We have a motion by Eric. We have a second by Brian. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 600. Next one, approve budget for Hemp Commission. Do we have a motion to ratify this 5 signature?
I'll move it.
We have a motion by Brian. Do we have a second?
I second, Madam Chair.
We have a second by Kenny. Discussion. Do we have anybody here from the Hemp Commission that would like to make comments? Linnell, are you on the line? Okay. Doesn't sound like we have any hemp commissioners present, but this was approved by 5 signature, and now we're ratifying. Any further discussion? Objection to the motion? Motion carried 6-0-0. The last ratification is Adopt Resolution 22-98, Winnebago Tribe D Avenue Bridge Project.
So
Motion
moved.
to ratify.
Second.
We have a motion by Brian. We have a second
Second.
by Eric. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 6-0-0. All right, that brings us to our new business items. Our first new business item is from the Planning Department to adopt resolution for the Cultural Center Preliminary Design Project. Joy, did you want to make comments on that?
Just to say that we're moving forward, the funding is tight around our construction projects. And so Alan and I discussed where we could look to get some additional funds to help out with that. And so we visited with HCCDC to go ahead and submit a application to the Winnebago Community Development Fund. And so this is an application for that funding. They'll be making those decisions either at the end of this month or the beginning of next month.
Thank you, Joy. Do we have a motion to adopt resolution 22-99?
So
Make a
moved.
motion.
We have a
Second.
motion by Eric, second by Brian. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 6-0-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. The next item is approved primary and regular election schedule. Do we have Linnell or Esther that would like to talk about this? Okay. Well, if in the packet is the Winnebago Tribal Council primary and regular election schedule, with the primary being September 6th, 22 and October 4th, 2022. And this is the standard schedule that the council needs to approve to comply with the code. So do we have a motion to approve the primary and regular election schedule?
So moved.
We have a motion by Louis. Do we have a second?
A second, Madam Chair.
Second by Kenny. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 6-0-0. Thank you, council. The next one is request for donated flag for Rockyford School. I believe the first request had come in an email, and Lorelai, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, this is, Rocky Ford is a community on the Pine Ridge Reservation. And the county that Pine Ridge is totally 100% in is called Shannon County. And Shannon County has a public school system, and they have them in different districts on the reservation. And Rocky Ford is on a northern part of the Porcupine District on the Pine Ridge. And their school is setting up a welcoming indigenous representation outside of their school grounds. And they wrote a letter requesting that we allow them to fly our flag. They're requesting all tribes to fly our flags on their indigenous flags. So that's up to the council to approve.
Thank you, Lorelai. The Renaissance program through Louis St. Cyr's leadership has been really helpful in taking the lead on ordering flags. Through the years, different ones have asked to take one to their graduation, take one to different events, and so now those are available. And so thank you to the tribe for sponsoring those, and for Louis for kind of taking care of those for us. So with that, is there a motion to donate a flag to the Rockyford School?
Make that motion.
We have a motion by Eric. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Louis. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 6-0-0. Our next item under new business is the Cindy E. land request, our land issue, or it sounds like a housing
Yeah,
issue?
Cindy stopped in earlier today and she basically requested that the tribe assist her and through Ron Noor and or Byron and their offices to parcel the land that was left to her by her father.
Would anybody like a copy of that letter? Teresa brought some in. If you
I
did
do.
not see it in
I
the
do.
email, I'll give a couple that way. Oh, shoot. Well, I'll just send it that way.
Because I spoke to her, I'll make a motion to approve her request as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion by Brian and second by Eric. Discussion. So the request is requesting for assistance with the house and some of the asbestos and things that,
That's different.
oh, this is different? Oh, sorry.
So what does the motion say?
She's requesting assistance in the tribe's, I think it's GIS, GPS program to parcel the land that was left by her father. And that included Byron, I forget his last name, and Ron Noor.
Walker?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Objection to the motion.
Who made the motion?
Motion by Brian, second by Eric.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Objection?
Set the line back here.
Yes.
Part of it, yes.
Objection to the motion. Motion carried 6-0. Thank you, council. The next one is the Powwow storage tank. Who would like to present this?
Yeah.
Danae,
Oh.
has nothing to do with it.
Ron Noor submitted this, he had his assistant submit this, and it's for a Powwow storage tank. And this, Ron Noor recommends that we support the bid that he submitted to Nelson Construction LLC for this Powwow storage tank. And the funding is being provided by the Indian Health Service for this project.
Do we have a motion? Are you okay if I call it that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a motion for the Powwow Community Water Storage Tank?
Make a motion to approve.
We got a motion by Louis and a second by Eric. Discussion.
Is it gonna be done by Powwow?
I don't know. I'm thinking it will be if they're doing it now.
Made the motion.
Motion by Louis, second by Eric. Ron said he'd be available by phone, so we could follow up with him.
Yeah, I'd like to hear some more about that as well.
Can we call him?
Could somebody get Ron on the phone and then we can come back to this item? Or let me text Ron, see if I got his number. Okay, so while we text Ron and get him to answer those questions, we can move on. Well, let's take a 5-minute break, and then because once we move on, I think we'll be in some pretty robust discussion that I don't want to go back to this. So let's just take a 5-minute break and see if we can get Ron to answer that question.
Louis, so your motion was to approve the Powwow Community Water Storage Tank and Nelson Construction LLC bid?
Yeah.
Okay, as recommended by Ron Noor.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's the way I took it as well.
okay. It's in here somewhere.
Hey, Ron, this is Victoria. Real quick question. We're at the company. Is the tank Yeah, then we
and
can,
the amount of the bid.
the amount of the bid and the completion date.
Yeah, the amount, you have the bid, don't you?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, but we can't find it in all the thick documents.
So is it this first?
It's, where's the thousand? There's two bidders, RP and Nelson.
And you recommended Nelson, right?
Nelson's low.
Okay.
They're qualified.
Okay.
They've got a subcontractor that'll do the tank itself.
So it's the
But
Nelson
there's a
bid.
bunch of grading and
How much?
water line and drain line that goes in besides the tank. One of the bid items, I think it's the second or third bid item, is for the tank itself.
Okay.
So they've got an actual tank builder, it's the same way that RP builds with a tank builder. Do you see the
Yeah, we got it in here.
400 some thousand? I think
It's 528,
528.
115, 46.
How much was RP's?
How much was
So this one,
RP's?
Well, Nelson, this is Nelson's.
Nelson was about 100,000 less than RP's.
Yeah, RP is a 6 something, yes.
Yes, okay, yeah, it was five something is what Nelson's construction was. And Nelson's done a lot of work for us in the last 20 some years, and I think even before that. And
Okay, so
every
I'm just
project
putting
has been,
Nelson's.
there's always been, some little bit of headbutting going on. The Highway 77 project that they did, that was a difficult one, but it wasn't really their fault. IHS didn't have a good set of plans, and we didn't know where a lot of the piping was underground, especially in the downtown area. And that was kind of a challenge on that one, but they've done 20 projects for us now.
Okay, that's helpful, Ron. I
They've
just,
done a good job.
okay.
Do you want me to call IHS and both things, look at something that I am out at my daughter's in Colorado Springs.
Okay, yeah, I knew you were out of town, so I just wanted to answer that quick question. And when you're back in town, let's see if we can get a timeline on that project.
I will make sure that we don't have any conflicts with the Powwow.
Okay.
I assume that's what the question or concern is about
Yeah,
Powwow.
yep.
There won't be any, I'll guarantee there will not be any. And the way that it'll get built, Tori, is that the new tank will get completely built and tied in, and then it'll just get valved over. So the transition from the old tank to the new tank will just be over a day or two. So it'll all get completely built while the old tank stays online, and then it'll get valved over and fill the new tank up and sterilize and fill the new tank.
Okay, sounds good.
So transition will be just over a couple of days. I'll make sure there's no conflict at all.
Okay, appreciate it.
Do you want me to call you back?
No, we're in the meeting. We're gonna move on to another topic. I just wanna make sure we had an answer for that.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Thanks. Okay, so, per Ron, it may not be done by Powwow, but he's gonna ensure it does not conflict with Powwow, and he's gonna call IHS to see the timeline, where they have it slated for. So any further discussion? Objection to the motion? Motion carried 6-0-0. Okay. So that brings us to our tribal council items, and our first item, we have the Two-Spirit Organization, and we have Curtis Alexander presenting. Curtis, would you like to come to the table and I just want to say again, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Tyler, for bringing everybody together. And Tyler, did you want to express the council with Curtis, or how did you want to?
I will go last.
Okay,
I will go last.
okay. Curtis, please.
All right. Good evening, everybody.
Curtis, if
yeah.
you wouldn't mind, if you could sit down next to
Sit.
Louis, because then you could use the mic and then other folks can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Curtis Alexander, and I am currently the president of the Winnebago Two-Spirit Organization here in Winnebago, Nebraska. So, sorry, I'm kind of getting over a cold that I had, so it's making it hard to talk. I wanted to give you a little back history on our organization so that you are familiar with it. In 2019, We started with a small picnic in the Ho Chunk village, and we had about 12 attendees at that event. In 2020, we didn't have any because there was no Pride because of COVID. And then in 2021, we showed The Little Mermaid movie on the prompter or the community screen downtown, and we had a meal for the people. So the Winnebago Two-Spirit is a purely volunteer donations ran organization. We are working on becoming a nonprofit, and we are not yet one. We exist solely because of the people who love the Winnebago community so much that they're willing to donate their time and resources to make our community more welcoming for all of our relatives, everyone. Our message has always been that this must be a community-wide effort. This isn't just a Two-Spirit issue, because Two Spirits are not the issue. The issue is that we as Native people have internalized and replicated a colonial bias which comes through bullying, intolerance, hate, and violence towards Two-Spirit people, including our youth. The obligation falls on each one of us to open our hearts, to learn, unlearn, and grow. I'm happy to see all these people here. They came out because of this mission that we have, this representation that we need to see. And their presence means a lot to me, and it obviously means a lot to you. And they need, I feel amazed to see this in my life here, because I know the struggle that our people go through just to get seen, be visible. The Winnebago Two-Spirit presents this resolution with input from Winnebago Two-Spirit tribal members with hope for the future generations. We are also requesting tribal half-day off for June 3rd, which is the date that we selected this year to have our Two-Spirit celebration, our Pride event. We are also requesting, it's a family carnival event for all our tribal entities to come and join us. And we also would ask the tribe to sponsor our noonday meal. As always, our events are open to everybody, and we hope the Tribal Council joins us on that day to come and celebrate with us. That's all I have to say in my written speech.
Thank you, Curtis. Can you talk about how many members you guys have? If you have kind of the makeup, is it of
Our organization usually has about 8 voting members, 8 seats, and their participation varies. So they could be, just the sitting board, or they could donate their time and be on the board. So we have varying degrees of involvement, but we have monthly visibility groups or events, and usually at our bigger events we have about 100 participants that come to those events, and we never know, it depends. The last one that we had 100 at was our Halloween event, and it's hard to gauge for us even to know how many people are going to turn out. And working on with no money or anything like that, it makes it a little bit harder too. But yeah, that's about how many participants we have. So it varies between the 8 to 100 people.
I guess I didn't mean participants. I meant you mentioned you're the president. So is
Yeah.
there a
Yeah,
board?
8 seats.
8 seats.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I don't know. So these are presented in a order, but I don't know if if C comes first, or Lorelai, do you have a preference on, you know, if the resolution comes first, or, I guess I don't, in my mind and processing it, it wouldn't make sense to do all those things and then not approve the resolution. You know, like, I think the resolution is kind of the authority,
Mm-hmm.
and that the tribe would be recognizing those things, but that's just how I'm thinking of it. Laurel, do you want to do it in this order?
There's a resolution, and this was received from a tribal member, Emmy, and they would like us to approve this tonight. So Curtis, you want to read it, or do you want me to?
Go ahead. I'll let
Okay.
you read it.
Do we have a copy of it?
Yes. It's in your packet. But this is the second version that we received today. Yeah. Okay. What they're asking us is to support the LGBTQ and youth community. They're telling us why. And they're asking the Winnebago Tribal Council to approve June as Pride Month. And so this is the resolution. Whereas the Winnebago tribe is a federally recognized Indian tribe organized pursuant to section blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I didn't want to say all the sections. Whereas section 3H of the Winnebago Tribal Constitution guarantees equal protection for its members, namely liberty under the law. And whereas the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska recognizes that the celebration of Pride Month began in June of 1969 to commemorate the Stonewall Uprising in New York City after lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer, two-spirit, and allies stood up against the constant harassment by police and discriminatory laws. And whereas the people have always, our people have always existed amongst the Ho-Chunk people, and whereas prior to colonization, our people were prophets, healers, and artists, and whereas today, Two-Spirit, LGBTQ plus people of the Winnebago community are leaders, educators, culture keepers, and hold many other roles that positively contribute to the success of the tribe. And whereas studies show that family and community support reduce suicide risk by more than half among American Indian LGBTQ youth. And whereas nearly half of the American Indian LGBT youth reported being physically harmed or threatened due to their LGBTQ identity. And whereas the missing and murdered Indigenous women and Two-Spirits movement includes Two-Spirit LGBTQ people as a result of the high rates of violence and murder committed against them. And whereas the Winnebago tribe passed Resolution 22-86A recognizing the same-sex marriage on April 11, 2022, and whereas it is important for Two-Spirit LGBTQ people to feel accepted, safe, loved, and uplifted by their family members, peers, community leaders, and tribal nation. And now therefore it be proclaimed by the Tribal Council of the Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska to declare the month of June as Two-Spirit LGBTQ Pride Month, to recognize the contributions made by members of the Two-Spirit LGBTQ community, and be further proclaimed, we call upon all Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska membership, law enforcement, health officials, school and tribal college administration, and all tribal programs and organizations to include sexual orientation and gender identity in their non-discrimination policies, and to create a welcoming environment for Two-Spirit LGBTQ people. And be it further and finally proclaimed, the Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska and all its entities incorporated under the tribal umbrella will require diversity and inclusion training that includes a focus on the Two-Spirit LGBTQ community with a curriculum trainer approved with Two-Spirit LGBTQ tribal member input. That's the end of it.
Okay. Thank you, Lorelai. Would you like to make any comments on this resolution, or is...
Do you want to make comments? You want to go ahead?
It's just a general comment, not necessarily about the specific resolution.
Okay. Well, we're talking about the resolution right now, so if it's not about the resolution, okay. So I read this earlier today, and I'm in support of Pride Month. I'm in support of all these things. But I take a little bit of issue with the second to last be further proclaimed, because what I think we can do is we can set the example as the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska, but BIA operates under BIA federal guidelines. The school is a public school, so we'll have to work with the state of Nebraska. So I just want to say we have more work to do. That's all I'm saying. And then the college administration, they have a board of directors. And so some of these entities have board of directors. The hospital has a board of directors, and it's a shared governance model where we have 2 council members on many of these boards, but it's not the majority. So I think I'd be happy to take this to the hospital board. I'd be happy to take this to some of the other boards that we sit on. But I just want to make note that some of these things, the authority doesn't come from the table, or it might come in an indirect way. So I don't know if anyone else had any comments. That was my only comment. It's a comment of support, and I say we have more work to do because we have other entities and institutions that we have to share this message with. So, Brian.
In that same vein, my support with this goes without being stated. It's something that I absolutely believe in. It doesn't need to be addressed in any other way. However, the language of the resolution itself requires grammatical and legalese changes. So I'm not necessarily sure that we would be able to approve it in its existing format. For example, the tribe does not use the term "now therefore be it proclaimed." It uses "now therefore be it resolved." You see what I'm saying? So in order to remain consistent with what we've done historically, things like that would need to be changed. So.
Thank you, Brian, for that input. This was a draft that was received, and so this is the first opportunity that council has been able to provide some feedback. Do we have any further comments? One recommendation I have would be if the council wanted legal review on this. We do have our general council meeting this Wednesday, which is kind of what started all this, And so it may be appropriate that that's the final approval in the midst of that same energy. Or if the council, oh, good, Louis?
I have some comments.
Okay.
This came upon the council rather quickly, and it was confusing. They acted, and there was a reaction to that. And we met, and we were reacting again. And I felt that it would be better if we heard from the people, the community we're talking about. I'd be more satisfied if I heard it from you and heard what you want. And I've heard some of the commitment to get organized as a 501c3. That's good. But up until then, I hadn't heard from any of you. I'm sitting by Alexander. I don't even know him. But I'd like to know who you are, who your families are. I know a lot of you, but I don't know your families. And I make associations by family. I'll tell you about 2 people that I know. One was Richard St. Cyr. Whenever there was a funeral, Richard was there. He was cooking. He was doing all kinds of stuff. And he worked the hell out of himself at the funeral because he was doing it for our relative that passed away. Well, I never heard anyone talk about him being two-spirited or anything. They just accepted him the way he was. You got Charlie. Charlie was a little skinny guy at the mission. They always picked on him. So Charlie was tough. You didn't mess around with Charlie because he could fight better than anyone. You don't tug on Superman's coat. You don't spit into the wind. You don't take the mask off of Old Lone Ranger. And you don't mess around with Charlie. But he was picked on, so he got that toughness to protect himself. We have people in our community that are two-spirited and we don't know about. And one thing that I have to learn is how do I react to you in a way that's respectable. It's learned behavior. I was in a group one day and this guy came up and kissed me. I don't know what happened. Why he did that, but I hit him. It's just my reaction. And I don't know what he was trying to tell me or what he was saying to me or what was going on. But it was abnormal in my way of operating with people. So you have to educate people like me. Because I don't like to go around insulting people or not accepting them for who they are. But it's a learning experience for all of us. Thank you.
Thanks, Louis. Louis always has a way of kind of redirecting us, and that's another thing that, this whole issue, this whole topic has, I think we've all learned a lot already. And this resolution that would recognize June as Pride Month, I see that as an action to continue to build that awareness, and that we have these months so that we could gather around that issue during that month, and we do activities or have lectures or just different things that provide that education and provide that awareness in an environment that's at the community who we are recognizing's discretion and direction. So I see this resolution as something really positive, and maybe I guess as we hear often at the table that these things happen for a reason, and it maybe we couldn't see it at that time when we were untangling it, but this is something really positive that I think that can come of it, that's going to continue on beyond the advocacy that we have this evening. So those are my comments on this. I have more things I'd like to say during other portions of the asks, but this is, in my asking the council to approve this is a step in the direction and a commitment to the Winnebago people.
Comment?
Eric.
Due to the wording and the general council meeting coming up with this, would it be better to table this until we can get the wording right and get the input from the general council?
If we would gain more support that way, I would, lean that way. If people, if tribal council would like general council to look at this and change some of the wording and put it in the format that is consistent with the tribal resolution format, I think that's great. I just want to make sure that that we have, if we identify what needs to be changed so that we have an awareness of where we're going with this, I guess. Brian.
With that comment being made,
what I said a few moments ago, I guess I want to add on to a little bit. I see this as something as being extremely important for this tribe. It is something that is very much needed. It's long overdue, and those type of things. And that's what I mean by when I say I believe in this. But at the same time, when it is presented in the way that the discussion was open tonight, which was a good way, of we need to learn and we need to educate. At the same time, that includes everybody, including you. Meaning that when something comes before the tribe and it is put in front of the people, it will stand as true. And in order for us to do that in its strongest form, I believe that we should have our legal counsel look at it and then review it, revise it so that it is linguistically correct and brought in front of the table again. I want to make that clear because in no way, shape, or form do I not support this, but I want to make sure because of how important it is that we do it the right way, that we do it correctly, and we do it fully. So with that being said, I'll motion to table to the General Council meeting for full review at that point.
We have a motion by Brian to table the proclamation June as Pride Month to the General Council meeting scheduled for this Wednesday, 4/20/22. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Louis. Discussion. Louis.
Wisconsin Winnebagos, when they made changes, the changes were friendly to the group. They used their verbiage. It was friendly language, and they accepted that. We should look at that, and I would recommend that we look at that verbiage to see if they like it and use their terms.
Okay, Louis, thank you. Yeah, I want to make sure that this resolution is preserved. You know, I don't think the intent is to change it all around, but hearing from Vice Chair, I think it would just be in the tribal council's normal process that when we receive things that aren't drafted by our general council, we run them through our general council. That's
It's an
just some of our
important
protocol.
document in the history of the tribe, so we better get it right.
Yes.
Yeah, we got it kind of wrong the first time, so we want to make sure that this really is encompasses the feedback that you've presented this evening, as well as in line with the tribe's process. Curtis, would you or any of your team like to make any further comments about this? We're still in discussion.
Anybody want to say anything right now on this? I do want to say, thank you, Chair LaRose, for your words. I do remember as a child and going to St. Augustine's and hearing comments being made about tribal members, and I had no idea what they were talking about, what that meant, until I got older. And to use somebody's name as a slur is shameful for the person that's slurring them, for their identity, their orientation, things that can't be helped because the Creator made them that way. And in my life, I want to give people agency in their lives to be able to find happiness, peace with who they are, whoever they are. And that's why I pushed so hard for the Winnebago Two-Spirit, formerly Bago Pride, to happen in our community. Other nations don't have pride groups. You know, it's more of an urban Indian kind of thing. We're special here because we have a pride group that works so diligently. I can't tell you how much people come out and donate to us because of this, give their time to us because they had a family member who was Two-Spirit or is Two-Spirit, and they want the world to, be kinder to them. So I do want this tribe, for their people, to have this proclamation, this day. It might not be, our history as, Winnebago, as, Nebraska natives. It might not be our, our past, the whole Stonewall and everything, but we can celebrate it for those other individuals, right? For those Two-Spirit people. We can give them that moment, that time, so that they can celebrate who they are. And I thank you all for, reading over this document and your work that you're going to have your legal counsel put into it, and making it a day, a time, a month where we can have to celebrate who we are for once. Because it gets tiring. Every day I hear something, a slur, every single day. On television, on the radio, from people, coworkers, from family. Every single day, a slur. I'm thick-skinned. I can take it. There are some people that can't, and it's hard. So just giving them this time means that you're healing somebody. You're giving them a life. They don't have to have that moment where they're hiding or they're scared to be who they are. You're doing that for your people. And you're doing that for your future generations. Because when you break down this one barrier, this afraid to say gay, this afraid to let people be who they are, the next generation, they won't even think about any of that. There'll be no question. No questioning who they are. So I want to thank you today for giving me the time to speak. My voice isn't there yet. Sorry. And your tribal members do a lot for this. They believe in it. So I also want you guys to believe in it too. All right. Thank you.
And thank you, Curtis, for sharing that. And when I was thinking about this resolution and thinking about what it means, it made me think of something that Councilman Smith had said before. And it's something that I talked about with Renaissance before, and Lewis, again, talking about Lewis, because we were talking about culturally significant days, and we were talking about different times of the year that Ho-Chunk people did different things. And so I shared with Lewis that, Lewis, if you share those things with me, then we can share it with the table, because if we don't acknowledge those times or do what we were supposed to be do during those times, then it's just another day. So I guess I share that same message as we take steps to work towards this resolution and this goal. It's that day, that month is something that we recognize, and that eventually, like you said, it'll just be the norm. We won't have to have such awareness, because it'll just be acceptance. And I think that's the ultimate goal here. So thank you, everyone, for your leadership on this. Any further comments? Lorelai.
So this motion is to table it, but the intent is to put the resolution in the format that the Winnebago tribe does resolutions. So everybody's clear, and that this will be shared with our legal counsel, so it's legal, because as the vice chairman said, this is extremely important for the future of our tribe, so the wording in this resolution needs to be just right. So we'll work with the general counsel on this resolution, and she can seek input from the group if there's something that, so make sure that you guys are happy before it comes back and it's approved. Okay? All right, thank you.
But I abstained because I was pushing for the people here to come and talk to the council. So I didn't get to vote on it. I abstained. So I would welcome the chance to vote yes on it.
Boy, did
Because
second it.
I feel a lot better that we've talked to the people that talked to us. That didn't happen. And I thought it was important. I worked as a mediator for 20 years for the Nebraska Justice Center. And I found out that if you don't hear people, you will never find a resolution to their problems. So it takes sometimes a long time before people finally get out on the table which issue is bothering them. And you can go at it and find ways to resolve. So that's why I was holding out. And I appreciate your coming here, talking to us. We've got a long ways to go. We've got a lot to learn. And let's get it on.
Does that conclude your comment, Louis?
Yeah.
Thank you, Louis. So we have a motion and we have a second. Before we move on, I just want to thank Louis again for reminding us. You know, he's always reminding us and redirecting us. And last week he objected to the motion because he said we needed to have this conversation that we're having tonight. And I think it's a continued conversation. So thank you, Louis, for that wisdom and for always kind of redirecting us. So with that, any further comments? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 6-0-0. We'll continue this at General Council. Now I want to jump back to those other ones, and that was for the administrative leave for Gay Pride Carnival event, June 3rd, 2022. I guess my opening comment on this request, we've done admin leave for different things, sporting events, different other cultural events. And sometimes we missed up there and we impacted our youth at Educare and we impacted our seniors with our senior meal program. And those are the two tribal member groups that we uphold the highest. And so in the past, we've done it at the supervisor's discretion. I don't know if the table is thinking that, or we've also other times asked people to use their leave. So I just, as a reminder to the council, we've done it a couple different ways. Is there any comments or discussion on 1A?
Madam Chair, I'm not really in favor of programs or entities using their own discretion, but rather it be across-the-board decision by the tribe.
Yeah, so we would say with your supervisor's approval, our people got to go, because, or that they had to attend the event. I think when it was the games, they had to go to the game. It wasn't just like a blanket admin leave. They had to attend the event.
And I think that was for children, when their children are being watched or in school, that they had to keep an eye on their children. I know one of those games that people went to, they left their children at the schools or at the daycares or whatever, and so it made our other staff not able to go. And so that's kind of, I think, how we came to supervisor's approval.
So next
But
question.
this is not a game.
Well, just saying in comparison to it, still people leaving, and I don't know, because if somebody that's watching their children want to go, and that individual wants to go, but they don't take their children, then they're not going to have the full capacity of people at their event.
So June 3rd is a Friday. Curtis, do you want to talk more about the event or what you have planned for that day, or?
Right now, we are in the planning phase for that, but we wanted to invite surrounding our surrounding communities to that participate in the LGBTQ events, for them to come and do booths and have like a carnival feel, so that our participants, our tribal members, employees could come and participate and enjoy and, you know, do that carnival feel, whatever, games and stuff like that. We also have planned a meal to be the beginning of our event at noon, and I believe we're going to go into the evening just a little bit. And I think that's it right now. We were asking for time off, but we came to that same conclusion that if we ask for the people to be off, that we need to be there to, you know, represent their organizations. Who's going to be there or who's going to represent, because it's going to be time off, right? So it's dependent on the entity or the program and their, you know, how you want to give time off. It's a little bit confusing right now. What we want to do is basically have the event and have your employees, tribal employees, attend. Basically how it is in my head right now. Yeah. I can't give too much clarification on it because I understand. Because I participated in going to the basketball games when the tribe gave it that time off too. So I see that.
Well, thank you for sharing those details. I just wanted to kind of give the lay of the land, you know, how
Yeah.
we've done it and how I've seen it approved, and how I've seen us hear from the elders that said, you know, I count on those meals. So
Yeah.
we're really more cautious about which programs are impacted when we do that. So that's where it's coming from. Any comments or motion? Anybody like
I'll
to?
move to authorize the administration to grant leave with supervisor's approval.
So we have a motion by Brian to authorize the CEO to grant administrative leave on June 3rd, 2022 for the Gay Pride Carnival at the supervisor's approval. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Lorelei. Discussion.
Yeah, I go back to my statement of letting the directors of programs have a say as to whether their employees can or cannot go. What if a program says, no, you can't get involved in that, or you can't go to that? And maybe it's not fair to the people that are in that program that they have that stipulation on them, when in fact they want to be involved in something like that. I would rather see it be a blanket deal where we allow that and not at a program director's discretion.
Okay. Thank you, Kenny. Brian, do you stand by the
I'm open to
motion?
whatever works. I'm just trying to move forward.
Do you guys still want it at the supervisors? Eric, or
Well, if we're gonna do that, I would just say let's make it all the way across the board through the tribe.
And I amend my motion to say so. Admin leave at 12:30 on that date.
Yeah, make it across the board.
okay. So we had a motion by Brian and we had a second by Lorelei. Are you okay with that? I don't know, I was looking at Eric. I was thinking Eric had seconded that. Sorry, Eric. Second by Lorelei. Any further discussion?
What's the motion one more time?
The motion was everything but without the supervisor's approval.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Objection to the motion? Motion carried 6-0. Okay, that brings us to the next item, which would be the Winnebago tribe to sponsor the noon meal. Curtis, do you have you had mentioned events had ranged from, a small group to 100. Do you foresee this being a larger community event?
Yes. Last year we went with 100. There wasn't that many attendees. We had about 60. But because of the attention and everything from the vote, the marriage vote and everything like that, we do feel there is going to be more attendance at this Pride event this year. And then if you factor in tribal employees, I think it's going to be a substantial number, a lot more attendees.
Okay. Um,
As the treasurer and as custodian of the finances of the tribe, I've always asked for a plan written, a detail of food provided and how many people, and I don't see anything in our packet for that, so I would like to see that before anything moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Rona, for that comment. We count on Rona to keep us disciplined, and she's a really good treasurer, so those are just some of the things that when we ask the council for an approval, we try to provide them with everything, and sometimes we see Teresa in here, we have to copy them after the fact and things, so
So we have enough time to put together whatever's necessary on this.
A budget.
Yeah, I'll move to table the meal sponsorship until a plan can be brought forward. So
Okay.
this basically gives it life to whenever that
Yeah.
information is brought up, then the council can consider that at that time. So
Okay. We have a motion by Brian to table the Winnebago tribe to sponsor a noon meal until a plan can be brought forward with the budget.
yeah,
And second by Rona. Any further discussion? Objection to the motion? Motion carried 6-0.
so basically whenever whoever's coordinating this, when they get their details, then it needs to be submitted because it's pretty much waiting on them.
Okay.
So
All right.
I would recommend the first regular meeting of May, and if
Okay.
you really had it in time, the treasurer's report meeting is coming up Friday? Next Friday? Next Friday. So
The
the
29th.
Okay.
that gives you some guidance if you had it in time. Otherwise, I would plan on May, but I would not wait until the week of the event or anything. So
Yeah.
anything would be appreciated.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. And Isaac. Let's talk about that afterwards. If you want. Okay. Sounds good. So we've got a motion and a second. That one passed 6-0. The next one was the resolution, and we took care of that. So thank you, council. Our next item 2 is Tyler Lemire, concerns from the Two Spirits in the Winnebago tribal community. I'd like to invite Tyler Lemire up to address the council. Hi, Tyler. Just want
Hi.
to say good evening and thank you for bringing us all together. And I think it's really something that the youth and your voice, you demonstrated how strong your voice was. And I think that's really encouraging to all of us to know that our youth are paying attention and that that they're not afraid to speak up. And so I just thank you for that. And I just want to say that before you begin your remarks.
All right. I am thinking on having the two spirits that want to speak come up first, and then I will read off a statement that I wrote last. So I will give them the chance to speak, and then I will speak my my concerns and my statement last, if it
Okay.
makes sense. So,
Thank you.
Willie, if you want to come up, or Father.
Good evening, Council. My name is Willie Bass. My Ho Chunk name is Mashjamani, and it was given to me by my father's father. My parents are Greg and Janet Bass. My grandma on my mom's side is Viola LaPointe. And I'm here today just to, again, support the Winnebago Two-Spirit organization and our fellow LGBTQ Two-Spirit community that we have alive and well here in Winnebago. And I just wanted to make a comment about why we may not see our community members out and about all the time. And a lot of it, I can tell you, is out of fear, because they don't want to be ridiculed or made fun of for who they are. So they stay in hiding and they don't come out. They're not going to come out to the tribal council meetings and be all out there out of fear. And it takes a lot of courage, and like Curtis was saying, tough skin to get up and speak about who they are as a person. Because for some reason, we're the only humans that apparently need to do that, is tell you who we are and how we are. I'm sorry, but the straight people don't need to defend their straightness. And that's the reason why we're here, is we want equal rights and equal representation. And it can be an issue. And I'm here just to promote awareness, because in a constructive, positive way, because no one's here to bash or create enemies or be divisive. That's the opposite of why we're here. We're here for education and for unity, and to hopefully gain support from our leaders. And I know some of you very personally and interact with you on a one-to-one basis. And it's really important to me that I feel your support, because it makes me reflect on all the interactions we've had, and I wonder if they were genuine. If you supported me for who I was, or was it all fake? I really have been thinking about that. And those are just some of my feelings, and just thinking about like my marriage not being recognized or respected by my tribe is really heartbreaking, and I feel like that's not justice. And in 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said that an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And that includes why we're here today. And so I come here with the utmost respect, because I respect each and every one of you. I may not agree, we may not always agree on our views, but that's okay. Because we're family, we're the same tribe. And a lot of us, we're so proud to be Winnebago, to be Ho Chunk, and that's why we're here. If we hated who we are, we wouldn't be here. Some people who do hate, they hate that part about themselves. Sometimes they end their lives, and that's when we talk about suicide. But we're trying to combat that. We're trying to be unified in our approach. And we're not trying to let outside colonial mindsets influence our beliefs about unity within our tribe so we can move forward. And I just challenge us to remember what our ancestors said. If you're not sure, educate yourself. We have resources available. We have a museum, we have a library, we have elders, we have the internet. All these things that we all have equal access to educate ourselves so we can make informed, fair decisions at this table right here. And I know I said a few words at the last tribal council meeting, and you guys, I felt really good because we made the right choice. We now recognize same-sex marriage. And that's a huge step forward. And I even talked to my group here. I said, you guys, I know we're going to go in there guns blazing, but you know what? We have to make sure that we recognize the progress that we made. And we did it together. All of us here, not these guys or these guys. We made that decision as a group, as a tribe. And that should be empowering for everybody. Those of you listening in, those of you present here today, those of you who are going to watch the recording, like in the future, after the fact. But it takes a collective effort and not just someone sitting idly by and or making the wrong decisions, and that's opposing equal rights for all tribal members. And so, again, I trust each and every one of you. I continue to do that, and I look forward to a constructive, positive future for our tribe and for our future generations to come. Thank you.
Thanks, Louis. Thanks, Willie. Sure. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello.
Hi.
My name's Isaiah Brokenleg, but I go by Shaniqua, and I'm not a Ho-Chunk or Winnebago tribal member. I'm actually an enrolled member of the Rosebud Sioux tribe, but I was asked to be here today, and so I'm Sichangu, and as a Lakota person growing up, we were all taught that Wink Day, which is our word for Two-Spirit, are sacred people, and that a community is not considered whole unless it has at least one Wink Day in it. And they're needed to bring balance and perform certain spiritual and social duties in our communities. And it was an honor if you had one in your family. And later, when I came into my community as the Wink Day, I was given more responsibility for the spiritual care of my community and was often asked to lead and pray and heal the communities I served. And this included my communities encouraging me to get my master's in public health. And so I actually know Lorelei. I worked with her as an epidemiologist. And it also included my community later encouraging me to become a priest and serve as a spiritual leader in that way as well. I serve as an Episcopal priest in this region, but I also serve the entire denomination as a member of the presiding bishop's staff in my church-wide role as the staff officer for racial reconciliation. And our Episcopal Church has a legacy of inclusion, aspiring to tell and exemplify God's love for every human being. Women and men serve as bishops, priests, and deacons in our church. Lay people and clergy cooperate as leaders at all levels of our church. And we believe leadership is a gift from God that can be expressed by all people in our church, regardless of gender, sexual identity, or sexual orientation. We believe that God loves everyone, no exceptions. And our church and our presiding bishop stand with our LGBT and Two-Spirit siblings. We affirm that they are and have always been a blessing to our church and our society. And above all, they are children of God with the entire human family. We are committed to the fullness of human equality and building a just future that is free from discrimination against LGBTQ and Two-Spirit people, both in our church and in our society. We believe in following the teachings of Jesus, whose life, death, and resurrection saved the world. And Jesus did not say anything, if you read the Bible, did not say anything about LGBT people anywhere. However, he did say a lot about love, especially that we are called to love others as he loves us and called to love our neighbor as ourself. And our presiding bishop says, if it's not about love, it's not about God. And what institutional symbol says more about love than marriage? And so I'm glad that you chose not to deny that right to a sacred portion of our population. So whether you are Christian or traditional, we all know that through the Creator we are all related, and that the same Creator calls us to be a good relative. So I ask you as leaders to be that good relative by making decisions that value, honor, see, and support our LGBTQ and Two-Spirit siblings. Thank you, Pinagigi.
Thank you for your words, and thank you for bringing your teachings and supporting our Ho-Chunk relatives.
Whoops. Whoa, sorry. I'll start off with my written statement. Hinikaragiwi no. My English name is Tyler Lemire, and my real name being Honchpinga. I'm a 17-year-old Shangay Wakikanak Ho-Chunk ni Soch Hachi. In English, that would roughly translate to queer transgender Winnebago boy. In public statements made by the Tribal Council, the council claims that there was never a ban in the LGBTQ+ marriage in the Winnebago tribe. Now, although in the March 24th Tribal Council meeting, the word ban was not directly spoken, the motion was made to allow LGBTQ+ couples to get divorced in the tribal court, but not to allow marriages. By textbook, thesaurus, and dictionary definition, not allow is synonymous with ban. I do not appreciate the rhetoric being spread that I blew the situation out of proportion with my online videos, or that I was misinformed on the decision. We all have seen the March 24th Tribal Council meeting, and all tribal members should be able to have access to it, as stated in Article 5, Section 2A of the Tribal Constitution. Everyone inside and outside these chambers knows the truth. Covering up is not necessary, nor will it be possible. We need genuineness as well. It is your job as leaders to be an advocate for the people, to listen and to protect the Winnebago tribe and all its members, not a select few based on personal bias or preferences. The Winnebago tribal community needs accountability, reflection, and apologies from the members that aided into that motion on March 24th. Evading the events that transpired, whether that be from a place of shame or trying to save face, is not going to benefit either party in this situation. Neither is any attempt at damage control. The only public statement that I would like to hear is a genuine apology from the members that made that motion. If that is too much for certain members at this table, I personally and respectfully request that you step down from your position on the Tribal Council. If you do not understand why I request that, despite the motion being changed, let me lay down the facts for you. According to the 2020 polls and studies, about 1 in 4 people in America are LGBTQ+. There are approximately 6,000 Winnebago tribal members. By that math and social sciences, there are roughly 1,500 Winnebago tribal members that are queer or trans. 1,500 Winnebago tribal members that were affected by the decisions made that day. And Creator only knows how many more generations of Winnebagos that motion could have affected decades down the line. That is a violation of human rights, a violation of the code of ethics that all tribal members or tribal council members are supposed to follow. The decision and comments made that day were also a violation of the tribal constitution, as stated in Article 4, Section 1B and 1C. The day that comes where I am of age, I will be sitting in your seats. That is not a one-off comment or a wish, that is a promise. Now, I have heard that certain council members have requested on wanting to learn more about the history of the contemporary term Two-Spirit for LGBTQ+ natives, as well as LGBTQ+ history in the Winnebago tribe. I would be more than willing to have a private and respectful conversation outside of these chambers to help answer questions and share some education on queer native history with the council members that requested education on the matter. I hope that this remains an important lesson on all tribal leaders here today, tribal leaders across Turtle Island, and future Winnebago leaders, to think more carefully about their decisions, as well as learning that actions have consequences. I do not mean to speak to anyone here in terms of threats or to make enemies. We are all relatives here. Whether we want to face it or not, we as Ho-Changara are family. I do not want aggression created here today. I want accountability. Family corrects each other's wrongs and lifts each other up. Wanaginapshana, Tori, Louie, Lorelei, and Brian for your support and allyship through all of this. And thank you, Louie and Lorelei, for sharing your wisdom here today and at the rally prior to the meeting. Thank you for your time.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What does the marking on your face signify?
I was informed by elders that it was the Bear Clan. It was to signify the Bear Clan family. But otherwise, the eye makeup is just makeup.
I thought so.
But yeah, that concludes my statement.
Well, you look really nice, Tyler. Thank you for the strength that you brought to your statement and the depth of the impact that our decisions make. And I'd like to just open the floor up to the table to provide some thoughts or some responses to what you've heard over the course of the evening.
Mm-hmm.
While everyone's still thinking, I just want to keep saying thank you because to me it just kind of fires me up that we're here for this topic and that we have a lot to learn and we have a lot to continue to support. And I guess the intentions of, bringing us back together tonight aren't, like you had said, to make people feel bad, but it's just almost an acknowledgement. And I think before we can have any healing or moving on, that we always need to acknowledge, what the issue is or where we could have done better. I want to thank Vice Chair for joining me on the radio. Some of you may have watched the episode 7 of the Winnebago Talks, and our communications team have done a really good job of providing a mechanism and a vehicle for us to share information. I just really enjoy it, so thank you to Brian for coming on the show. Lorelei.
Earlier at the tribal court, we had a real beautiful gathering of all of us. And I want to thank all of you who came to the gathering. And what came out of that gathering was equal rights for all and protections for all tribal members. And we need to love one another the way our ancestors have told us. Be kind to one another, love one another, accept one another. That's how I felt with the group today when we were at the tribal court. It was just loving and fun. We were just laughing. So I want to say thank you to all who gathered today. Thank you all for coming. I think we're learning, and this will be a lifelong learning, but it's good. And I'm glad that you came to express yourselves today to the Tribal Council. We needed to hear from you. So thank you.
Well, if there are no further comments, I guess would like to, I guess I have a question before we move on to the next.
Yes.
I had originally talked about doing a listening session this Friday, and one of my goals was to hear some of the things that we've heard this evening.
Mm-hmm.
And my other goal was to figure out what the ask was, and I think we learned about what some of those asks were, and we're going to work towards those. So my question is, maybe to you, Tyler, and Curtis as the president of the Two-Spirit organization, do you guys still want to have the listening session on Friday, or do you think that your asks are in motion?
I would be all right for the listening session. Curtis. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll still have the listening session then. I just wanted to make sure that I was a good use of everyone's time and that you got the asks that we needed right away. Okay, so we'll still do that. Any further comments on this topic?
I have no further comments.
Okay. Thank you, Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
And now we'll move on to our last item of the evening, which is an executive session. And from that executive session, do we anticipate action or will we adjourn?
We'll see. We're gonna let him take their pizza.
So before we go into executive session, you guys, want to thank you again for coming, and there's lots of pizza left there. Take one home to your family.
Thank you for the pizza, Tori.
Thank you. Thank you to Teresa for helping us get that going.
Well, I'll make a motion to go to an executive session and take 5.
Okay. So you want to take 5 and then go into executive session?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then, okay. So make the motion or come back and make the motion?
Okay, well, let's go into executive session now and then take 5 before we.
Okay, we have a motion by Eric. We have a second. Do we have a second? Second by Rona to go into executive session. Discussion. Okay. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 600. We're entered into executive session at 6:33, and we'll just
1833.
18:33.
I thought you said you worked on that. Yeah. Didn't you work on it?